Everyone keeps asking the same question: will AI take my job? It is an understandable question, but it may be the wrong map. Because a job is not one solid block. A job is a chain. A teacher does not just teach. They plan, explain, assess, encourage, document, communicate, adjust, and make judgment calls no spreadsheet can fully understand. A manager does not just manage, they prioritize, coordinate, listen, decide, review, protect time, and translate chaos into direction. A designer does not just design, they research, sketch, compare, revise, present, defend, and read the room. So, when AI enters the workplace, it usually does not grab the whole job at once. It finds a link in the chain, then another, and if no one is paying attention, the chain can change before the job title ever does. That is the hidden story of AI automation. Not one machine replacing one person. A workflow being rebuilt step by step. Welcome back to the Mind Machine Atlas. Today, we map the chain of work. A job title is a label. It tells you what someone is called, but a workflow tells you what actually happens. A parent question becomes an email. The email becomes a search through records. The record becomes a summary. The summary becomes a decision. The decision becomes a reply. The reply becomes documentation. Documentation becomes a pattern someone uses later. That is work, not the title, the path. This is why AI affects two people with the same job very differently. One person may spend most of the day repeating predictable steps. Another may spend most of the day handling exceptions, relationships, conflicts, and judgment. The title looks the same, the workflow is completely different, and AI does not enter through the front door of the job title. It enters through the side door of the task. The first links AI usually touches are the repetitive ones, the links that happen again and again. Taking messy notes and turning them into a clean summary, turning a meeting into action items, sorting messages by urgency, drafting a first response, moving information from one system to another, finding the same pattern across a pile of documents. These links matter. They consume attention, they drain time, they make people feel busy while pulling them away from the work that actually needs judgment. So automation can be useful here. It can remove friction, it can make the chain move faster. But even here, the rule is not let AI do everything. The rule is simpler. Let AI handle what is repeatable, but keep a checkpoint where the result matters. Because speed is only useful when the direction is right. Every workflow has 3 zones. The first zone is automate. These are steps where the pattern is clear, the risk is low, and the answer can be checked. Sorting information, formatting notes, summarizing a meeting, drafting a first version, moving data from one place to another. This is where AI can save time without pretending to replace responsibility. The second zone is augment. These are steps where AI can help, but the human still shapes the work. A model can generate options, but a person chooses the direction. An agent can compare sources, but a person decides what matters. A system can draft a plan, but a leader understands the people who must live with it. Augmentation is not surrender, it is leverage. The third zone is protect. These are the moments where the consequences are too high, the context is too human, or the values are too important to hand over blindly. Hiring decisions, student discipline, medical advice, legal interpretation, financial commitments, public messages that affect trust. In these moments, AI may inform the decision, but it should not quietly become the decision maker. The safest automation does not hide these zones, it labels them. The most important part of an automated workflow is not the machine, it is the handoff. Where does the AI stop? Where does the human enter? What evidence comes with the output? What should be approved before anything leaves the screen? A weak workflow says, AI will handle this. A strong workflow says, AI will draft the response, attach the sources, flag uncertainty, and wait for approval before sending. Notice what changed. The second version has boundaries. It has checkpoints. It has a clear moment where human judgment returns. That moment is not a slowdown. It is the control point. Automation is not only about what the machine can do, it is about what the system makes visible. A visible workflow shows who checked the answer, where the information came from, and what still needs human review. An invisible workflow hides the handoff, and when the handoff disappears, responsibility starts to blur. That is when a small automation becomes a real risk. Not because the tool is evil, because the system forgot where the human was supposed to return. In the agent era, one of the most valuable skills is not simply knowing how to prompt. It is knowing how to design work. You look at a process and ask, what is repetitive? What is judgment heavy? What information is needed? What can be drafted? What must be verified? Where should the system pause? Who is accountable at the end? This is the shift from using AI as a clever shortcut to using AI as part of a responsible system. A shortcut asks, how can I make this faster? A system asks, how can I make this faster without losing trust? That difference matters because the best users of AI will not be the people who automate everything. They will be the people who know what should not be automated. They will know when speed helps and when speed becomes risk. They will know where the machine should move fast and where the human should slow the system down. That is workflow intelligence, not just using the tool, designing the path the tool is allowed to travel. So what remains human? More than people think. Humans keep the purpose. Humans keep the moral weight. Humans keep the relationship with the audience, the student, the patient, the client, the team, or the community. Humans keep the ability to ask whether the efficient answer is also the right answer. AI can process patterns, but people understand promises. AI can draft the message, but people understand the trust behind it. AI can recommend a path, but people understand what happens when the path affects real lives. The machine may help move the chain, but the human still has to know where the chain should lead. If the chain leads to a decision that affects someone's future, the human cannot disappear from the map. The human has to move higher in the system. Less time doing every repeatable step, more time deciding what deserves trust. So here is the practical map. Take one workflow from your own work, not your whole job, just one recurring chain, a report, a meeting, a parent message, a lesson plan, a client update, a hiring process, a project review, then break it into links. What happens first? What happens next? Where does information enter? Where does judgment enter? Where does trust matter? Now label the links, automate, augment, protect, automate the low-risk repetition, augment the creative and analytical work, protect the decisions where consequences, relationships, or values are on the line. That is how AI becomes useful without becoming reckless. That's how a tool becomes a workflow. And that is how a workflow keeps a human center. At the beginning, the question was simple. Will AI take my job? But now the map is clearer. A job is not a block. It is a chain, and the chain can be redesigned. Some links will be automated, some will be strengthened, some must be guarded. The goal is not to remove the human from work. The goal is to remove the waste from the workflow while keeping judgment where judgment belongs. So when you look at your own work, do not only ask what AI can do, ask where it should stop. That's how you build automation with a human center. Until next time, keep exploring the Atlas.